Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the last session of Finance Magnates London Summit 2022. Prepare your branded notebooks. In this signature London Summit session, we bring together leading experts in regulation.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, first of all, for the invitation. Happy to be here. My name is Evdokia. I'm coming from SALVUS Funds. We are based in Cyprus and dealing with licensing, regulatory compliance, internal audits for all the financial entities based in Cyprus, EU, and around the globe, according to the needs and the trends of the regulations and the market.
Anyone who just came late, there are a few seats in the front here. Please feel free to come in. Thanks for that. So you mentioned something interesting, Mark. You said part of the rules is delineates how you have to have segregation of funds. So one of what the FTX did show was how easy it was to get around having, you can segregate the funds, but how easy it was to then take those funds after you've segregated them. So maybe Evdokia, if you can kind of talk to us a little bit in terms of the MiCA, if there's policies in place that potentially could protect investors that their funds won't be segregated and then desegregated.
Definitely. Thank you for the question. I will add to what Mark shared. We find MiCA very complete, similar, I will say, to what MiFID had, what they introduced. And from our side, being from Cyprus, SAISEC regulations and the directives, yes, primarily they are focusing on AML, but the directives themselves, they already incorporated all of those rules on the governance, on the safeguarding of funds, and the corporate things that are coming with MiCA, which is very, very important because now, for example, in Cyprus, we already started the registering of the entities where we have Binance, Revolut already registered, and where they supported the regimes. And before MiCA is in place, they are kind of forced to do all of those rules and have them there, which is good, because when MiCA will come, the regulator will not go after all of those entities to ensure that they have all of those things in place. Whereas if we are looking at the FTX case, if they already had all of those in place, and the substantial amount of money that they controlled, we wouldn't have.
Moving on to other areas, and kind of a little bit back to what we were talking about before about licenses. So in terms of offshore and different things. So I've, you hear about different companies, different openings, change of management. So Evdokia, I know we talk about this often in different panels in different locations, but I feel I go back to this question often because I feel like it's something that changes often. So like right now, what's the status of getting a new license? If you want to register for a license in EU, UK, or Cyprus, where you're, what's the wait time? What do you have to be getting ready for?
Yeah.
What's changed in the last 6 months?
That's a very interesting question. And as we deal a lot with licensing, and we are specialized in Cyprus, but we are dealing with clients all over the world. So we are dealing with offshore licenses and everywhere. So one of the things that I will say is people, they want something, they want it now. And when they go to any country they say, I want a license and I want it today. Unfortunately, this is not the case. You have to wait. You have to, first of all, complete all the due diligence in order to file an application and the business and all of that. And then you have to wait for a period of, let's say, a year in any jurisdiction that you go. And the people do not understand that.
When you say any jurisdiction, you mean in what we call like the onshore, or even in like some of the other offshore markets as well?
We consider that, let's say, if you want to go to EU, we consider that SAISEC is one of the most friendly obtaining a license in EU. Okay, when you go offshore outside EU, including FCA, and then you go and you say, okay, which are the friendly, let's say, jurisdictions, compliant, less compliant, leverages, and all of that. At the moment, we consider that Seychelles, Mauritius, let's say, are the ones that are regulated and friendly ones, and you can do your business. And then if you want more prestigious, you can go to Dubai, which is increasing a lot, Abu Dhabi now. where we can see a lot of clients going there.
But what's the wait times in terms of those?
Exactly.
It's also Europe?
That's the thing. It's a lot of waiting time. With only now, currently, the only attractive jurisdiction where we see, it's Mauritius, where you can obtain a license much quicker than that. Let's say you can get it in 6 months. And the reason we see that is because they are outside now of the high-risk jurisdictions on the AML for the last, let's say, 6 months, where it's not a pipeline of licensing there. Whereas if you go to Seychelles, and everyone was going to Seychelles, it's a pile-up of applications there. So we see, as you say, every 6 months, a shift of the licenses. However, many groups, what they do, we actually go and they say, okay, I'm going to take as many as possible because things are changing.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's but I find it interesting from your answer that we're no longer in this turnkey regulation where you can get something up and running in a few months. You definitely, no matter where you're doing, you have to potentially be planning for a year.
Just to add a bit on the acquisitions, because we deal a lot with the acquisition side, I agree with you that it's about what we want to do. Many people, they want the licenses you said today, which is nice. It's the time value that you gain. And the profit considerations that you can, let's say, start the business today until you get the change of ownership. But again, you have to do a deal with the seller in order to operate, and there are risks for both sides. However, you can find a middle ground. The problem that we see from being as consultants in there is about, first of all, the right people to consult you there in the acquisition phase, and whether the regulator sees the company as being dormant in a way. So many firms, let's say, they go to SISEC, they apply, they get the license, and then they find all the costs and all of that too much, so they want to sell it. But from the side of the regulator, maybe they see like a non-operational license where someone selling it, but they don't like that, so they want to see operations. We sell a business. We don't just sell a license. So this is changing, and it's something that investors need to think about.
So potentially, it's easier to buy a company that has an existing operating business and not just a dormant license.
Yes, definitely. Whereas most of the people, they want to go and say, I want a company with no clients, just the license, which is fair. You don't want to inherit the problems. But when you go to the acquisition stage, the regulator will say, wait a minute, we just went through the whole due diligence to authorize you, and now you are selling it, and you maybe make a premium of $500,000, and what do we gain? We just, we don't sell a business. Yeah, definitely. SISEC already started implementing this in the product governance, so all investment firms, let's say, they have to update the policies on that front, which came effectively into force yesterday. But then, yeah, we have also the SFDR, and we also have the disclosures under Pillar 3, which are going to come in May for this particular year. So 2023 will see changes in the fund managers, as we mentioned here. And it's a fine line, because it's not about only data that you have to do. You have to disclose to your customers, and you have to also focus on the remunerations that is subject to the ESG.
Budget and preparedness for it. Thank you, everybody, for being part of the panel, and thank you, everybody, for showing up. And I think this is the biggest audience I've ever seen at the end of the day, even the middle of the day sometimes. So really appreciate everybody being here.